This is The Process Shot. I'm Michael, I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and I've seen First Man into Space, a science fiction horror film from 1959 directed by Robert Day. It follows a small U.S. Navy squad attempting spaceflight, led by Chuck Prescott, whose brother Dan is set to pilot an experimental spacecraft. Ignoring orders and listening to his own impulsive determination, Dan flies over 200 miles into the air, after which he is forced to eject after passing through a strange cloud that completely coats the ship in an odd substance. The wreckage is salvaged, but Dan is nowhere to be found. But it isn't long before a mysterious, bloodthirsty alien creature begins stalking the night, killing anything and anybody in its way as it stumbles towards Central Command, or HQ, or whatever it was called. This movie has an interesting cross between science fiction and mystery, but in the long run there really isn't too much horror. Those elements seem pretty shoved in, not so much in a last-minute way, but certainly with little planning and many cliches on board. The ending twist that results from the horror story could have very well set up a completely different drama had it been introduced earlier. But instead, it's as if the filmmakers took the easy way out when writing everything. That all said, the movie does at least hit up the usual hallmarks of a B-movie that you've probably come to expect. There's a decent story setup, ripped from the headlines, simple characters and individual storylines to work with, and overall nothing too challenging for an average audience. Given how simple it all tries to be, there really isn't much else to say about it in this regard. Granted, it does at least have more to it than being a sci-fi monster movie cashing in on the concept of space travel. But again, that's something that could have been the whole story. It ends up making the most interesting idea at play feel like a last-minute addition. If anything within First Man into Space is meant to be a highlight, it's definitely the special effects. They are pretty clearly made out as the centerpieces of their respective scenes, whether it be space rockets in flight or the creature attacking a night nurse. By today's standards, they aren't close to believable, especially when it comes to the spaceflight scenes, but they're still able to illustrate what's going on while still making what was then impossible a reality. Well, sort of. Anyways, the creature costume design is especially impressive, if only for the sheer visual effect it can have on the viewer. It's simultaneously alien and human, both outright scaring anybody who sees it, while drawing their interest through a strange sort of familiarity. The trade-off is that, as a horror monster, it doesn't really do all that much. It really just kind of walks around and attacks people from the shadows. On that subject, the other technical aspects of the film are pretty standard for a B-movie. From flat and simple cinematography choices, to lighting and shadows that hide any cheap set pieces, to a practical editing style that doesn't really enhance the viewing experience. At the end of the day, a B-movie is pretty much all that this movie is. While there are a few good ideas, it just ends up being more of a platform for them than something that really makes great use of them. First Man into Space, Robert Day, 1959. 2 stars. You could watch a better B-movie for sure, but for what it's worth, I would still say to give this a shot. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. B-movies do make for a nice break from time to time, but hopefully the next one I get is the kind that either tries to have something deep going on or goes in really hard on whatever gimmick it has set up.